has been warning Tehran against the use of force to suppress the ongoing protests. The death toll from major anti-government protests in Iran reached at least 2,000 as per the US-based human rights activist news agency. 10,721 people have been arrested as well. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has not yet elaborated on what the United States is considering in terms of military options.
The inflation numbers just came out and we have very low inflation, so that would give Tulane Powell the chance to give us a nice, beautiful, big rate cut, which would be great for the country, but rates are falling also, and growth is going up. We have tremendous growth numbers, so growth is going up. So I'll be talking about that today in Detroit, the big speech, and I can only say that the country's doing well. You saw my statement on Iran, you saw my statement on Minnesota. On Minnesota, we have taken out killers, rapists, drug dealers, people from mental institutions that came in illegally. All of them, most of them came in illegally. They're from other countries. They came in under the Biden ridiculous open border policy, and we've gotten a lot of them out. We just had numbers from Chicago, where Chicago crime has gone down pretty good. It could go down 100% virtually, but we're fighting with that governor who's so incompetent. But as you know, we took out a lot of killers, murderers, drug dealers, drug addicts, mental institution people, and people from jails. We took them out of Chicago. So Chicago's got much better numbers now than it had a few months ago. We will get no credit for it, but these are minor details. Crime in Washington, D.C. is almost non-existent. It's a safe place, so people can come bring their families. They can send their son and daughter to look at Lincoln, Washington, Jefferson, or whatever they want to look at. But it's almost non-existent. We're very proud of that. Memphis is making tremendous strides, and so is New Orleans. We have a whole group of people, and crime in New Orleans is down about 65%. We've only been there for 3 weeks. So it's really amazing what's happening throughout the country. The crime numbers are among the best numbers we've ever had. Well, he's billions of dollars.
American President Donald Trump, this was a live interaction that he was having with the media right ahead of him traveling to Michigan. Remember, he's expected to travel to Michigan and speak with business leaders at Detroit. But before that, he has put out a social media post which has set alarm bells ringing around the world. He has said that Iranian protesters must continue their demonstrations against the regime and that help is on its way. What does it mean? Well, there are, of course, a lot of analysts who believe that this is a signal that the American military might intervene, but we don't know. He has, although, sent out that very, very strong signal that military option is not off the table and that he's open to sending that to help the protesters. Remember, just a short while back, as we told you, Trump put out a post where he said, and I quote, "Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions, save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price. I have cancelled all meetings with Iranian officials until the senseless killing of protesters stops. Help is on its way." MEGA, which he's said as Make Iran Great Again. But remember, this comes also after Iranian officials had hinted that they are open to talks, that they are open to a diplomatic solution as far as this entire standoff between United States and Iranian regime is concerned. But clearly, that is now off the table as far as Donald Trump is concerned. He has made it clear that he's cancelled all meetings with Iranian officials until the killing of the protesters stops. Extremely important statement coming right ahead, even as the entire world has its eyes on what Iran, does now, because the United States of America and Donald Trump have been threatening the Iranian government and the regime, the supreme commander, against killing of protesters. Trump has said this earlier as well, that if at any point he sees peaceful protesters being killed by the regime. And he had said this earlier, I quote him, locked, loaded and ready to go. That's what he had used for the American military. Today, of course, him saying that help is on its way and that they should continue with their protests and take over their institutions. Clearly, a very, very strong signal and a warning being sent to Iran. What does happen now in the next few hours is going to be extremely important to observe, to notice, because we'll have to see how Iran responds to this latest statement by Donald Trump. He's off to Michigan at the moment. We'll have to wait and watch what happens next. My colleague Susan is joining us from New York. Susan, this is an extremely strong, clear, stern statement coming from the American president. It seemed like he had backtracked, he had withdrawn from going on a war against Iran when he set up those 25% tariffs on countries that are trading with Iran. Several people said that perhaps now he's not going to go to war against Iran. But this post clearly reflects otherwise. It sends a strong signal to Iran that help is on its way. What would he mean? Does he mean military options, just like Venezuela?
Right. No one knows what Donald Trump is going to do. And those quote unquote experts that say military option was off the table, at this point, everyone is just guessing. What we do know is President Trump has been offered a number of paths when it comes to Iran after he saw that the regime is killing its people. One of them was sanctions. The other one was cyber attacks. And then, of course, the option of some sort of kinetic or military attack. It's very unlikely that President Trump is not going to go through after putting out this post. It really is, the first time that he's not only directly talking to the Iranian people, but also calling them patriots and saying help is on the way. He's also calling on these people to go ahead and take over institutions. I think that is the most fascinating part of this social media post that he's put. But nonetheless, he was scheduled to meet with not only military officials to expand on the options he has regarding Iran, but also with his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. There were some talks about how President Trump may want his administration to resume a diplomatic path with the Iranians after allegedly they made a phone call to the Americans hoping to restart negotiations. That received a lot of backlash online, notably among Trump allies. We'll have to wonder whether or not it was that severe backlash that made President Trump put diplomacy completely off the table at this point, or was it because the proposal that Steve Witkoff allegedly sent the Iranian foreign minister about a U.S. proposal was not accepted by the Iranians. Again, we're reading through tea leaves right now. As I mentioned, any expert and analyst who claims they know what President Trump is doing, I think they're all guessing right now. Yeah. But we do know that the Israeli government is also having a meeting in about 2 hours' time. I think we'll get a better understanding of what path the president wants to take after the social media post in the coming hours, for sure.
Absolutely, Susan. As I said, the next few hours would be significant to notice, to observe as to what happens. At the moment, of course, the world is awaiting with bated breath what happens and what the American president meant when he said that help is on its way. Susan, thanks very much. We'll keep touching base with you to get the latest from the United States.
Thank you.
Remember, we have been telling you that American warplanes have been stepping up activity at major U.S. airbase in Qatar, just 200 kilometers from Iran. U.S. fighter jets have increased operations at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, which is a critical American military hub. According to Israeli media reports, several U.S. military aircraft, including KC-135 aerial refueling tankers and B-52 strategic bombers, were seen taking off from the base late Sunday night. Al Udeid is located southwest of Doha and hosts more than 10,000 American troops. It has one of the longest runways in the region and is capable of handling heavy bombers designed for long-range strike missions. The surge in American military activity comes alongside a stark warning from Washington. The message is clear. Washington believes the security situation inside Iran is rapidly deteriorating, while publicly the Trump administration continues to stress diplomacy, now, of course, that having changed. Earlier as well, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had said that President Trump sees talks as the first option, but made it equally clear that military action remains very much on the table. She said the president is unafraid to use the lethal force and might of the United States military if he deems it necessary. Also adding pointedly that only Trump knows what he will do next. Now that ambiguity seems to be a deliberate move because even as they talk about diplomacy, the pressure on Tehran has been intensifying. President Trump has announced a sweeping new policy, and that is a 25% tariff on any country which continues doing business with Iran. Washington's move directly targets Iran's key trading partners, including China, Turkey, UAE, and Iraq, and threatens to widen the crisis far beyond West Asia. Donald Trump described the order as final and conclusive, without spelling out exemptions or timelines. This escalation comes amid mass protests across Iran, among the most serious challenges the Islamic Republic has faced in years. Rights groups say that at least 648 people have been killed, including children, though some estimates suggest that the toll could be far higher. Thousands have reportedly been arrested as well. Now, Iran's leadership is not backing down. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has said that Tehran is ready should the US choose to test military action, claiming that Iran is now more prepared for the strikes than it was during last year's brief war with Israel. He insists that Iran remains open to dialogue, but says that it is prepared for any eventuality. Araghchi has also said that Iran has obtained documents and evidence that link the unrest to America and Israel, accusing Mossad agents of directing terrorist acts.
Israeli media reports are rife with claims that Israel has designed and conducted operations in Iran. Mr. Mike Pompeo, who was Trump's CIA director, said on his X that Happy New Year to every Iranian in the streets, also to every Mossad agent walking beside them. This clearly shows that Mossad agents attempted to direct such terrorist acts.
On the same day, there were nationwide demonstrations in Iran condemning riots supported by foreign forces, with protesters reportedly opposing the interference by the United States and Israel. Now, analysts say that this is the most volatile moment that Iran has faced in decades. And that's what makes the current American posture so significant. The military buildup in Qatar, the evacuation warnings, the tariff chokehold, and the repeated refusal to rule out force. Together, they suggest a strategy that is built on maximum pressure, backed by credible military threat. At a time of heightened regional tensions and continuing cross-border threats, the Indian Army has sent out its clearest signal yet. India, it says, is ready, not for a short symbolic confrontation, but for a prolonged conflict, if forced upon it. And the message comes directly from the top. Indian Army Chief General Upendra Dwivedi has said that the armed forces are fully prepared for a long war with Pakistan, highlighting India's military posture is built for endurance, escalation, control, and decisive response.
Operation Sindoor was the best example of tri-service synergy under clear-cut political directive and full freedom to act or respond. In J&K, since 10th May, the situation along the Western Front and J&K remains sensitive but firmly under control. In 2025, 31 terrorists were eliminated, of which 65% were Pakistan origin, including the 3 perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack neutralized in Operation Mahadev.
The statement comes in the wake of Operation Sindoor, which is India's calibrated military response following the Pahalgam terror attack in April last year. General Dwivedi said that the operation, which is still ongoing, resets strategic assumptions, striking deep into terror infrastructure and expanding what he called the conventional military space without triggering nuclear escalation. According to the Army Chief, the operation was executed with precision, under clear political direction, and with unprecedented tri-service synergy. The Army Chief also laid out India's next major military priority, the creation of a dedicated rocket and missile force. General Dwivedi said that India needs such a force in order to match regional realities, pointing that both Pakistan and China have already established rocket forces. He said that rockets and missiles are now intertwined on the modern battlefield, with both capable of delivering strategic impact. The Army Chief confirmed that India has successfully tested the Pinaka system, which has a range of about 120 kilometers, and India has also signed contracts to extend that range to 150 kilometers, with future systems expected to reach 300 to 450 kilometers. The Army Chief also referred to India's advanced missile capabilities, including Pralay and BrahMos, reiterating India's shift towards deep precision strike deterrence. Remember, in May last year, following the Pahalgam terror attack, the Indian Army had successfully destroyed 7 out of the 9 terror targets in Pakistan and maintained full operational readiness for 88 hours, a period that the Army Chief said sent an unambiguous message to Pakistan. The Army Chief also dismissed Pakistan's nuclear rhetoric, saying there was no discussion of nuclear issues during military-to-military talks and that such threats were political posturing and not military reality. He emphasized that India has deliberately expanded its conventional war-fighting space, making it clear that terror attacks will no longer be shielded behind nuclear blackmail. On the ground, the Army Chief said that the situation in Jammu and Kashmir remains sensitive but firmly under control. In 2025 alone, 31 terrorists were eliminated in the region, most of them of Pakistani origin. Active local terrorists are now in single digits and new recruitment has fallen to near zero. General Dwivedi stressed that this does not mean any reduction in deployment. Pressure, he said, has been maintained across the line of control and will continue as long as Operation Sindoor remains ongoing. The Army Chief also outlined how India is preparing for a long-duration conflict, from rapid drone induction to new missile and rocket forces, from specialized infantry units to artillery-based unmanned systems. The focus, he said, is on sustainability, technology, and self-reliance. Every command, he noted, is now capable of manufacturing and operating thousands of drones, which is a significant shift in modern warfare preparedness. The message from the Army Chief is clear. India does not seek war, but it is no longer constrained by it. Any future misadventure, General Dwivedi warned, will be met with a calibrated, decisive and sustained response. For now, the military standoff holds, but India is prepared for the long haul. Shifting focus, Britain's top military commander has dropped a bombshell admission. Head of the Armed Forces, Richard Knighton, has told Parliament that the UK is not ready for war, not even close, and behind the scenes, the military faces a staggering $35 billion shortage that could cripple the country's defense for years.
The admission is stark and unsettling. Britain cannot currently fight a full-scale war. That warning comes not from critics, but from the top of the military itself. The head of the armed forces, Richard Knighton, has said, UK is not as ready as it needs to be for the kind of conflict it could face. In plain terms, the country that once ruled the seas is struggling to prepare for modern war.
Over the last 30 years since the end of the Cold War, we are not as ready as we have taken a peace dividend, and we are not as ready as we need to be for the kind of full-scale conflict that we might face, and that's how we ultimately deter our principal adversary, is through being ready to fight and win. And part of that is also about how we modernise and transform the armed forces to make sure they're ready for that fight.
Years of cuts have hollowed out the force. Troop numbers are down, ammunition stocks are low, equipment is aging, readiness is fragile. In a world sliding back towards great power confrontation, Britain is running on fumes. Past reports tell the same story. Parliamentary committees have repeatedly warned that the UK would run out of key munitions within days of a high-intensity conflict. Defense chiefs have admitted the military is at its smallest size since the Napoleonic Wars. Warships sit idle for lack of crews. Jets wait on the ground for spare parts. Yet the threats are rising fast. Russia's war in Ukraine has reshaped Europe's security. China is expanding its military reach. West Asia remains volatile. Cyber warfare and space warfare are no longer theoretical. They are raging in real time. The modern battlefield is unforgiving. Wars are decided by logistics, stockpiles, and speed. Ukraine has shown how quickly ammunition disappears. Britain, officials admit, would struggle to sustain even a short, intense fight. This is not about panic. It is about reality. The UK still has elite forces, nuclear deterrence, and global alliances, but the troop strength matters. Weapon stockpiles matters. Preparation matters. London's warning is a signal flare. Either Britain rebuilds its ability to fight and deter, or it risks discovering its weakness the hard way. History shows that admitting unpreparedness is dangerous, but ignoring it is worse.
And coming up on Gravitas later, the Nipah virus re-emerges. We get you the latest on that and the precautions that you should take. Also, we tell you how Goa is all set to measure the happiness among its people with an index. And we also get you more about an app in China which is getting popular for serving the lonely. At a time when winter tightens its grip on Ukraine, Russia has stepped up its deadliest phase yet, unleashing a massive missile and drone barrage across the country. At least 4 people were killed as Russian forces struck power infrastructure, plunging hundreds of thousands of homes into darkness. Ukraine's Air Force says that Moscow fired more than 25 missiles and nearly 300 drones in a single overnight attack, one of the largest barrages in the recent weeks. In the eastern Kharkiv region, visuals showed firefighters battling blazes and rescue workers searching through rubble by torchlight. In freezing temperatures, a postal facility was hit, trapping workers under debris. Authorities imposed emergency power cuts as the country's fragile energy grid took another hit. Ukraine's largest energy provider confirmed that one of its power plants was struck, the 8th such attack since October last year. President Volodymyr Zelensky said that several 100,000 households were left without electricity and called on Western allies to immediately boost air defense support. He said that Russia was using cold and darkness as a weapon, adding that winter would not help Moscow win the war. The attacks also hit Ukraine's south. In the port city of Odessa, Russian strikes damaged apartment buildings, a hospital, a kindergarten, and injured at least 5 people. Russia's defense ministry acknowledged the strikes, claiming that they targeted military facilities. But Kiev says that the real target is Ukraine's civilian population and its ability to survive through winter. The escalation comes amid growing concern over Russia's use of advanced weapons, including a recent strike involving the nuclear-capable ballistic missile. The Russian Defense Ministry acknowledged its attacks, claiming its strikes targeted Ukrainian military facilities. Russia's use of a nuclear-capable Oreshchik ballistic missile on Ukraine sparked condemnation from Kiev's allies, including the United States, which called it a dangerous and inexplicable escalation of this war. Ukraine has also stepped up long-range drone strikes inside Russia, targeting military and energy facilities. For now, the war shows no sign of de-escalation. As temperatures fall, the battle over power, heat, and survival is intensifying. The frontier of fiction is colliding with the cold reality of the war room as the Pentagon bets its soul on the machine. Pete Hegseth and Elon Musk are promising a Star Trek future. Musk's XAI platform, Grok, will be integrated into US military networks as part of a new AI acceleration strategy. But what happens when the machines take control of the world's most powerful military? Take a look.
America is building the military of the future. One that has an artificial mind at the helm. The corridors of power are buzzing with a radical vow to turn science fiction into battlefield supremacy. The blueprint for the next world war is being written in lines of code. U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has announced an audacious plan to transform the U.S. military into an AI-driven force, with Musk's technology leading the charge. Autonomous drones, space superiority, and weapons that think faster than any human commander ever could.
Very soon we will have the world's leading AI models on every unclassified and classified network throughout our department. Long overdue. To further that, today at my direction, we're executing an AI acceleration strategy that will extend our lead in military AI established during President Trump's first term.
They call it the Star Trek future, a vision of sleek drones, orbital dominance, and AI-driven precision. The goal is clear: outpace China and Russia. Musk's Grok AI is already infiltrating the system, promising a lightning-fast edge that human minds simply cannot match.
It's not always science fiction, but one day the science fiction turns to science fact. And we have spaceships going through space, big spaceships, with people going to other planets, going to the moon, and ultimately going beyond our star system to other star systems where we may meet aliens.
Hegseth says Grok will go live inside the Defense Department later this month. Data from intelligence databases would be fed into AI systems. But experts are worried at what happens when the machines take control. Will there be guardrails? What about the nuclear weapons? Will an AI take control of them too? Well, the existing rules framed under the Biden administration mandates that no automated systems would control the nuclear weapons. But will the Trump administration adhere to those guardrails? AI has a mind of its own. It works on logic which is devoid of consequences at times. Internal simulations have pulled back the curtain on a terrifying reality. When pushed into crisis scenarios, almost every major AI model chose the path of maximum violence. They didn't seek diplomacy, they calculated total destruction. The Silicon Mines showed a chilling preference to escalate aggressively, deploying firepower indiscriminately. In the most harrowing drills, the AI didn't just win the war, it ended the world, reaching for the nuclear trigger before a human could even blink. This is not science fiction anymore. It is strategy, power, and risk, moving at machine speed. The Pentagon's gamble is historic. build smarter weapons to prevent war, while trusting that the machines never decide to start one. Because once AI controls the battlefield, there may be no pause button. Bureau report WION World is 1.
From Russia, Ukraine, let's speak of Israel and Gaza. What is being called a ceasefire in Gaza is on the ground anything but calm. Nearly 3 months after fighting was supposed to stop, Israeli military action continues to claim lives, destroy neighborhoods, and deepen a humanitarian catastrophe. The numbers alone tell a grim story. Hundreds dead, most of them children. Cities reduced to rubble and infants dying not just from bombs, but from cold. According to Gaza's health ministry, Israeli strikes and gunfire have killed over 440 Palestinians since the ceasefire began on the 10th of October. More than 1,200 others have been injured. Nearly 40% of those killed were children. These deaths have occurred during what was meant to be a pause in the violence. Israeli forces say they are targeting Hamas fighters and responding to perceived threats. The Israeli military cites shootings, shellings, and airstrikes aimed at militants or people approaching the yellow line. The boundary dividing areas under Israeli and Hamas control. Israel maintains that these operations are defensive and necessary. But casualty figures paint a completely different picture. Health officials in Gaza report that civilians, including families, far from any active clashes, continue to die almost daily. The United Nations confirms that at least 100 children have been killed since the ceasefire began. Europe preaches morality to India to boycott Russian oil. Yet, EU's wallets stay wide open, guzzling over $8 billion in Russian gas. A new report by German NGO shows that how Europe keeps importing Russian fuel as India is scolded and taxed over it. Russian gas keeps flowing towards the West. Remember, this has been the kind of double standards and Western hypocrisy that this part of the world has been calling out as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. India has been called out, it has been penalized, and it has been taxed as well. Additional tariffs have been slapped on India by United States of America, and the European Union leaders have been pressing India to curb Russian oil. But clearly, their wallets are earning from Russian gas. Our next story is from Bangladesh. The violence against minorities is rising in the country. Yet another Hindu man has been killed in Bangladesh. A 28-year-old Hindu auto rickshaw driver, Sameer Kumar Das, was allegedly brutally murdered in the Feni district, with assailants fleeing the scene with his vehicle. According to the police and local sources, he was beaten, then stabbed with a country-made weapon. His blood-soaked body was discovered around 2 a.m. local time. This is, remember, not an isolated incident. Sameer Kumar Das is the 12th Hindu minority victim in the recent weeks in Bangladesh. In the last 2 weeks, multiple attacks on Hindus have been reported across Bangladesh. Last week, Mithun Sarkar fell victim to such an attack after he was chased by a mob. He jumped in a canal to escape, but unfortunately, he died by drowning. On the 31st of December last year, a 50-year-old Hindu man and a local medical shop owner, Khokon Das, while returning home, he was attacked. A few weeks back, 29-year-old Amrit Mondal was lynched by a mob. Just days earlier, 25-year-old Deepu Chandra Das was killed after false blasphemy allegations at his workplace. A few weeks ago, a 1971 war veteran, Jogesh Roy, and his wife were found dead with their throats slit. It is a clear, repeated and deadly pattern of targeted attacks on the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. And each time, the response from Dhaka is the same. Even though Yunus has condemned these attacks, he's refuted communal angles to them. He's often referred to them as personal disputes and stated political motive behind these attacks. The Human Rights Congress for Bangladesh Minorities has documented 73 blasphemy-related incidents across 32 districts of Bangladesh between January and November of 2025. The Bangladesh Hindu Buddhist Christian Unity Council reported 51 cases of communal violence in December last year alone. These numbers tell a far more damning story. So then why is Muhammad Yunus denying this systemic failure? Critics say the government has failed to protect minorities and has instead empowered radical groups, including the Jamaat-e-Islami, which was previously banned for terror links under the Sheikh Hasina government and will contest the upcoming elections. There's also growing alarm over the Yunus government's pro-Pakistan tilt. High-level political and military engagements with Pakistan and reports of ISI presence have raised fears that extremist elements are being emboldened, while Yunus looks the other way. With the situation remaining tense for minorities in Bangladesh, India has stepped in. New Delhi has questioned Bangladesh, demanded action, and warned that dismissing these killings as personal or political only embolden the perpetrators. Bangladesh is heading into the first election after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, but democracy cannot stand on the blood of minorities.
You said bad?
Right, this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will.
Australia's former Prime Minister and current US Ambassador Kevin Rudd will cut short his 4-year diplomatic term and step down from his post early. The announcement comes just days after an old video resurfaced showing Kevin Rudd was attacking Donald Trump. While the Australian government insists the decision was voluntary, the timing has raised serious questions. Let's take you to the moment that brought years of tension into full public view. During a White House meeting in October last, attended by President Trump, Kevin Rudd, and the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, a journalist reminded the president that Rudd had previously attacked him in strong terms. As laughter erupted among reporters, President Trump turned towards Rudd, and what happened next went viral. That moment went viral.
Should I say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President.
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will.
Now, while both sides later played it down as good-natured exchange, it clearly underscored a fractured personal relationship between the two. Before his appointment as ambassador in 2023, Kevin Rudd was one of Donald Trump's harshest international critics. He called Trump the most destructive president in history, a traitor to the West, and went on further as well. When Rudd was appointed ambassador during the Biden administration, those comments were scrubbed from his online record. But following Donald Trump's return to power in November 2024, the diplomatic balancing act became far more difficult. Remember, despite the personal frostiness, the Australian government said that Rudd delivered results.
With deep appreciation for his tireless contribution as Prime Minister, as Foreign Minister and as Ambassador to the United States of America, we announce that Dr. Kevin Rudd AC will conclude his posting as Australia's Ambassador to the United States at the end of March 2026.
Now remember, Canberra credits him with helping secure the release of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, locking in support for the AUKUS Defence Pact and advancing talks on critical minerals with Washington. The White House, on the other hand, struck a diplomatic tone. An American official said, and I quote, "Ambassador Rudd worked well with President Trump and the administration. We wish him well." In a second Trump presidency, how much room is there for diplomacy when personal history refuses to stay buried? All right, shifting our focus now to India, where 2 suspected cases of the Nipah virus infection have been reported in West Bengal, prompting heightened surveillance and swift intervention by both the state and central governments. The union government has moved quickly, deploying a national joint outbreak response team to assist the West Bengal authorities with containment, testing, and public health preparedness. The team will work alongside state officials to prevent any further spread of the virus. Now, the alert follows preliminary screenings at AIIMS Kalyani that indicated the Nipah virus infection in 2 nurses who were employed at a private hospital in Barasat, which is located just 25 kilometers from the state capital, Kolkata. Both nurses are reportedly in a critical condition and they remain on ventilator support at the moment. In response, the West Bengal government has issued a statewide alert across all healthcare institutions. Hospitals have been instructed to strictly follow isolation protocols, strengthen infection control measures, and remain on high readiness. Now, this development has revived concerns about the Nipah virus in the state, which previously witnessed outbreaks in Siliguri back in 2001 and the Noida district in 2007. According to health officials, the 2 infected nurses, both in their mid-20s, lived separately as paying guests. Investigators revealed that the female nurse attended a family wedding in the Nadia district earlier this month and later traveled to multiple locations, including Shanti Niketan. She fell ill soon after and was admitted to a medical college in South Bengal. The male nurse worked night shifts alongside her colleague at the hospital shortly before both developed symptoms. Both the nurses have reportedly developed severe lung infection and brain inflammation. In both patients, complications commonly associated with advanced Nipah infection. Authorities have now begun extensive contact tracing to identify and monitor anyone who may have been exposed. Remember, Nipah virus typically presents flu-like symptoms such as fever, muscle pain, sore throat, and breathing difficulty. In severe cases, the disease can cause respiratory failure, seizures, and encephalitis. The virus was first identified in Malaysia in 1999 and takes its name from a village where the initial outbreak occurred. There is currently no approved vaccine for the Nipah virus, and treatment focuses on isolation and intensive supportive care. West Bengal last recorded a Nipah outbreak back in 2007, while India's most recent case cluster surfaced in Kerala in August last year. Major quick commerce companies in India have dropped their 10-minute delivery claims after the Union Ministry stepped in over rider safety concerns. And that is according to media reports quoting government sources. The reports show that the Labour Minister, Mansukh Mandaviya, held discussions with Blinkit, Zepto, Swiggy and Zomato, urging them to remove rigid delivery timelines. To WION's query, Blinkit said they do not have a statement on this yet. But the ministry flagged that aggressive delivery promises could put undue pressure on delivery partners and increase safety risks on the road. Following the meetings, the companies assured the government that they would remove delivery time commitments from advertisements, branding material, and social media platforms. The government's intervention comes after mounting pressure from gig workers and opposition parties.
आपकी आवाज़ शायद इन कंपनीज की मैनेजमेंट तक तो नहीं पहुंची या उन्होंने अनसुनी कर दी, लेकिन आपकी आवाज़ केंद्र सरकार ने सुनी और उस पर कार्रवाई भी करी। मैं सबसे पहले सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के इस हस्तक्षेप के लिए उन्हें बधाई देता हूं, उनका शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं और ये उन्हीं के इंटरवेंशन से संभव हो पाया। 10 मिनट में डिलीवरी का जो जुल्म है ये वास्तव में बहुत रियल है।
Delivery partners across platforms went on a strike just before the new year, raising concerns over low pay, unsafe working conditions and strict delivery targets. Riders warned that time-bound delivery models often push them to take risks to meet deadlines. Now, this move signals growing regulatory scrutiny of India's fast-growing gig economy. The sector commands large valuations, with Swiggy valued at around $11 billion and Zomato's market capitalization close to $28 billion. At the policy level, Rajasthan, Karnataka and Jharkhand have all enacted laws to provide social security and grievance mechanisms for gig workers, while other states are exploring similar frameworks. Even as platforms expand workforce participation and roll out benefits like accident and health insurance, the focus is now shifting toward balancing growth, speed and worker safety. The story is straight out of a crime thriller. Canada has made a major breakthrough in what is being called its largest gold heist ever, in which gold bars worth more than $20 million were stolen. Under an investigation codenamed Project 24K, the Canadian police have now arrested one key accused. Hunt for another suspect also intensified, who is believed to be hiding in India. Peel Regional Police have confirmed the arrest of 43-year-old Arsalan Chaudhry, who was taken into custody at Toronto's Pearson International Airport after arriving on a flight from Dubai. Chaudhry has been charged with theft, possession of property obtained by crime, and criminal conspiracy. The arrest is linked to a staggering crime that took place on the 17th of April back in 2023. When a cargo shipment containing nearly 400 kilograms of pure gold with around 6,600 gold bars and along with it $2.5 million in foreign currency vanished from the airport property just hours after it was unloaded in Toronto. The gold was never recovered. Investigators say the haste was not random. It was meticulously planned, with insiders allegedly manipulating airline and cargo systems to divert the shipment without raising alarm. One of the key accused now at the center of the manhunt is Simranpreet Panesar, a former Air Canada employee from Brampton. The police believe that Panesar played a critical role in identifying and diverting the gold cargo and has now fled Canada. Authorities in the country said that Panesar is currently believed to be in India, with reports suggesting that he was last traced to a rented apartment near Chandigarh before disappearing. A Canada-wide arrest warrant has been issued against him. So far, the police have identified at least 10 accused in connection with this haste. Several have already been arrested. Others face charges across Canada and the US, with some already in custody on separate offences. The Canadian police said that Project 24K is a complex, multinational investigation, and they warned that no accused, no matter where they hide, will escape justice. All right, moving on. The human brain is the most powerful machine on earth. However, it never stays the same. While aging is normal, researchers have now discovered a pattern to cognitive impairment, which includes memory loss and trouble in concentration. A study conducted by Chinese scholars published in the Nature Aging Journal, they identified 13 proteins in the blood which predict how quickly or slowly a person's brain ages compared to the rest of the body. The study found that cognitive decline is most evident at the age of 57, 70, and 78. At the first stage, the study linked the reduction in brain volume to weight gain, which leads to decreased blood supply. According to researchers, the brain shrinkage at the age of 70 is due to the retirement effect, as most people avoid challenging things at that juncture. Another sharp decline in cognitive ability is seen when a person turns 78, owing to the reduced blood flow to the brain. However, experts have opined that it is possible to address cognitive decline. For instance, regular exercise can improve memory. Keeping a tab on cholesterol levels is also essential. While those aged 70 and above generally prefer solving Sudoku and crosswords, pursuing serious hobbies like learning a language or playing table tennis might be more beneficial. While there is no definite cure for dementia, the study indicates that a change in lifestyle will be a step in the right direction. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas. But as always, we'll keep getting you stories from across the world here on WION. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world.